Hi, I'm Bruce King. Welcome to the Unleash the Power of Your Mind podcast. How to unlock the power hiding in your brain and unleash the success you deserve, whatever success means to you. Whether it's your business, your career, or your personal life, the ways to significantly greater success are here. Enjoy. First of all, because this is the first podcast I'm recording, a little background as to why I'm qualified to teach on this subject. After I sold my first business in my late 20s, I embarked on a totally new career in alternative medicine. It was a passion of mine. Complementary medicine as it's known nowadays. I studied and earned a PhD in nutrition. I also qualified as an acupuncturist, and I opened an alternative medical centre in London. But my biggest interest was in psychology and neuroscience, and I continued to study those subjects for many years. In fact, I've never really stopped. In those days in particular, how we could use the power of the mind to overcome numerous medical and psychological problems. And when it was appropriate to do so, I used these techniques with my patients with great success. But after about 8 years, I had a yearning to get back into the commercial world and start building a new business. I sold the clinic and started my sales training and marketing company. It was a big success, mainly because I incorporated many of the power of the mind techniques I'd used with my patients into the sales and marketing coaching. And as a result, those who studied with us achieved great results, much faster than they could otherwise have done. And you will too. So let's get started. The collective name for our species is human beings, not human doings. I'll repeat that, human beings, not human doings. In other words, we have to be what we want to be in our minds before we can do what we need or want to do. To use sales to illustrate my point, if you want to be great at doing prospecting, you have to be a great prospector. If you want to be brilliant at doing selling, you need to be a great salesperson. If you want to be brilliant at getting referrals, you need to be referable. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Same goes for being great at every aspect of doing anything you want to succeed at. So let's take a closer look at being. Albert Einstein said, "The world as we have created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking." The key word in Einstein's statement is the word thinking, because whatever you're thinking is or becomes your reality. Every single thing you ever do and everything you say is preceded by a thought. Sometimes they're conscious thoughts. Other times they're subconscious or unconscious thoughts that have been programmed into your mind and happen automatically. But thoughts they are. And over time, the accumulation of these thoughts and beliefs becomes your reality, your world. And the problem is that very often they're not the most positive thoughts and beliefs, and many people settle for a life of boredom, mediocrity, and often failure. So let's look at your thinking mechanism, your brain. It's only by understanding how it works that I can show you how you can easily start to reprogram it to have a totally positive mental attitude and achieve all you wish in every area of your life. This is my simple explanation. I keep it simple because, again in the words of Einstein, if you can't explain it simply to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. So here we go. James Watson, who was jointly awarded the Nobel Prize for the discovery of DNA, described the human brain as the most complex structure in the universe. I describe it as our neck-top computer. Most of what I was taught over the years when I was studying personal growth strategies and the human brain was the works of brain researchers and gifted psychologists with great ideas, but sometimes very limited proof of their theories. Nevertheless, much of what they thought and taught has turned out to be absolutely correct. More has been discovered about how the human brain works in the last 15 years than had previously been discovered in the last 5,000 years, and particularly in the last 5 years. And here's just a few of what I find to be some of the most interesting scientific facts about the brain relating to our current situation. The brain generates sufficient electricity to keep a 25-watt bulb lit up 24 hours a day. The brain generates more electrical impulses in any given period of time than all the mobile telephones in the world combined. The brain contains approximately 90 billion nerve cells, scientific name neurons. To get that into perspective, there are approximately 90 billion stars in the universe. So, you have as many nerve cells in your brain as there are stars in the universe. Amazing, but true. And each one of those 90 billion brain cells is connected to between 100,000 and 1 million other brain cells, forming thought patterns known as neural pathways. There's approximately 18 trillion neural pathways in your brain. Seems incredible, doesn't it? But it's true. It's a fact. For the sake of simplicity, let's say there are two main parts to both the computer and your brain, which are important to know about in our quest for success. First, we have the conscious mind, which I liken to the screen of your computer. The conscious mind handles just a few pieces of information at a time. It's what you're conscious of at any given time. The information could be the words or sounds you're hearing and the words you say to yourself when you're thinking. It could be what you're looking at and the pictures you create in your mind when you're thinking and when other people are speaking to you. It could be the subject you are writing about or anything else you are consciously thinking about. The challenge is that the human sensory system, that's your entire body, its sense organs and other organs, they send around 11 million bits of information a second to the brain. But the conscious mind can only handle between 10 and 40 bits a second. If it were all allowed in, you would go insane trying to consciously handle it all. I mean, try having 20 children all asking you different questions at the same time while you're trying to compose and type an important email, and you'll know what I mean. To overcome this problem, we have the subconscious or unconscious mind, which I liken to the hard drive on your computer. And a part of the unconscious mind is called the reticular activating system, RAS for short, which acts as a filter of information. The information which is needed by your conscious mind to help you deal with what you are consciously working on at the time is allowed into your conscious mind by your RAS. That which it believes is unimportant is just filtered out. As a way of illustrating this point, stop listening for a moment, press pause, look around wherever you are and count how many things you can see coloured red. Do that now, and when you've finished, start listening again. Now tell me how many things you saw coloured green. The answer is almost certainly none. Your conscious mind sent an instruction to your brain to search for red items. Although your eyes probably did see some things coloured green, the RAS filtered them out and they just didn't register. Everything that is ever allowed into the conscious mind, your computer screen, is stored in the unconscious mind or hard drive. Everything from the day you were born. The only difference between your brain and the computer is you don't need to press a save button. It happens automatically, and unfortunately it's out of your control. Despite that filtering mechanism, we still have between 30,000 and 70,000 conscious thoughts a day. Whilst many may be thoughts we had and repeated from a previous time, there's a heck of a lot of new information being stored daily, and a humongous amount of information has been stored since you were born. As these thoughts are stored away, they create neural pathways, the ones I mentioned earlier. And whenever your conscious mind receives any piece of information, it automatically links through neural pathways to previous experiences stored that relate to that piece of information. Or it starts a new neural pathway. The more times that specific experience is repeated, the stronger the neural pathway becomes and the faster and more automatic is your response. For example, if I ask you, what's 7 times 7? You'll almost immediately tell me the answer is 49. You did, didn't you? You didn't have to work it out by counting 7 times 7 on your fingers and toes. You just knew the answer because of the neural pathway that was established. Possibly when you had to repeat your 7 times table over and over at school. So it is with every thought you have, with every word you read or hear, every picture you see or create in your mind, and every feeling you experience. According to Professor Chris Frith, one of the world's most renowned experts on the human brain, he said, "Free will is illusory, and that before we consciously decide to do anything, our unconscious mind has already made the decision for us on what we are going to do." In fact, at least 95% of everything we think happens on an unconscious level. In other words, we're all programmed rather like robots. And that's another reason why we have to be so careful what we think about and what we focus on. Imagine that your brain is the World Wide Web. What happens if you type in a search for poverty? If you type in poverty, you'll get approximately 3,900,000,000 pieces of information regarding poverty, and hardly any reference to prosperity. Likewise, if you type in a search on prosperity, you get approximately 3,320,000,000 results regarding prosperity, and hardly any reference to poverty. And this is how your brain works. What you focus on grows with intensity. Or to put it another way, energy flows to where attention goes. So with this in mind, it's extremely important that you monitor your thoughts and regulate what you focus on. And even more important, you must train yourself to focus with intensity. because the emotion that you attach to your thoughts creates an immense amount of power within you. There's two more aspects of brain function you should know about, and that's the heart-brain and the gut-brain connections. First, the heart-brain. For many years it was assumed by scientists that the heart was nothing more than a pump pushing blood around the body and responding to instructions it received from the brain. More recent scientific research has shown that the heart sends far more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. These signals, in the form of neurotransmissions, have a significant effect on how the brain functions, and it influences emotional processing and many other cognitive functions such as focus and memory and problem solving. When we're feeling stressed and experiencing negative emotions, the heart rhythm pattern becomes erratic, and a corresponding erratic pattern of neural signals travels from the heart to the brain. These have a profound effect on the brain's emotional processes. They reinforce the emotional experience of stress and negativity. In complete contrast, when we're experiencing positive emotional states, the more stable and regular heart rhythm signals to the brain to have the opposite effect and reinforces positive feelings, emotional stability, and positive thought processes. In the relatively new science of neurocardiology, scientists have discovered that the heart possesses its own nervous system and its own complex system of neural pathways. As a result, scientists have termed this the heart brain. It has its own intelligence. It has the ability to process information, make decisions, and has a form of learning and memory. Not convinced? Think back to a time, or several times, when you're aware you made a decision based on what you felt in your heart, rather than you thought in your head. Convinced now? And then there's the gut brain. Yes, we really do have a brain in our gut that influences our judgment and a great deal more. This gut brain is termed the enteric nervous system, and it's an extensive network of brain-like neurons and neurotransmitters wrapped in and around our gut. If you really want to delve into the science of this, Google gut brain. You'll find hundreds of links. Meanwhile, we've all heard the expression, trust your gut feeling, and my gut feeling is. And we've all experienced situations where we know our gut brain is telling us something. It could be when we first meet someone and instantly take a dislike to them, or fall in love with them, or a situation where we have to make a decision fast, maybe to buy or not buy something. Here's how I try to prove the existence of the gut brain to an audience when I'm delivering a masterclass. I ask them, if you are aware that on occasions you know you made a decision, any kind of decision, based on what you felt in your gut, please raise your hand high. And every time I have asked an audience this question, no matter how large that audience, every hand is raised. And you'd have raised your hand too, wouldn't you? So, when we're walking towards achieving our goals through an understanding of how the brain works, we must take into consideration the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain. And from this point on, whenever I refer to the brain, I'm referring to all three. Now, here's one of the biggest challenges we all face. Open a newspaper, switch on the radio or TV, and what you will read, hear and see is mainly bad news. That's what sells. And much of this is stored in your unconscious mind. And when you speak with friends and acquaintances, much of what they say is complaints about their lives, their jobs or businesses, their relationships and their health. As a result, most people have mainly negative experiences and store negative thoughts. And these negative thoughts and non-positive neural pathways represent at least 80% of what is stored in the brain, and only about 20% is positive, if you're lucky. You could therefore summarize this by saying that most people are programmed to be negative, and worse still, possibly even programmed for failure. And it gets worse. Albert Einstein is frequently quoted as having said, "The definition of insanity is to carry on doing things the way we've always done them and expect to get different results." But on the basis that we're programmed rather like robots and programmed to do the same things over and over, we could possibly even be described as insane. But the good news is you're not incurable. You were not born with these programs. You were born with an almost empty hard drive in your brain, and your experiences throughout life have programmed you to act in a particular way. And we can change that program, and we'll get started on that in a moment. And there's one more important thing for you to know. The mind cannot tell the difference between imagination and reality. When you put a totally clear message into your brain, the brain needs the unconscious information you have stored away in your unconscious mind to be consistent with that conscious thought. So it sorts through all that stored information and feeds your conscious mind with what it needs to know to make the thought a reality. More on this in another session, but I tell you this now so you will understand why this exercise is so powerful and so effective. For the next 7 days at least, I want you to work on this one exercise that will get you started on the reprogramming, and carried out regularly will have a profound effect on your attitude, your self-esteem, and your ability to achieve almost anything you desire in the future, and far more easily than you can possibly imagine right now. Here's what to do. Make a list of anything and everything you want to be. Anything and everything that comes to mind without thinking too much about it. Just make a list and keep writing and writing until you cannot think of anything else. The aim is to end up with between 5 and 10 of the most important things left on your list you wish to be. Between 5 and 10. So go through your list again and again and again, crossing out the lesser important ones until you have your mega 5 to 10. Next, take each one at a time and rewrite them as an I am statement. So for example, if you want to be successful, you write I am success. If you want to be a millionaire, you write I am a millionaire. If you want to be a #1 best-selling author, you write I am a #1 best-selling author. And if you want to be happier, you write I am happiness. When you've finished these I am statements, type them up or write them out neatly and keep a copy with you at all times. Maybe take a photo on your list on your cell phone, and maybe paste a copy of your list in several places where you'll come across it frequently. Whenever you get a moment, read your list. And when you're alone and maybe cannot be overheard, read it out loud with passion. And when you're not alone, read it silently and with feeling. The more times you do this every day, the more impactful it becomes, and the faster you will experience the most profound effects. That's it from me for now. Thanks for listening, and I hope you found this really useful. The most important thing you can do is to put what you learn into action. Without action, nothing will ever change. And do subscribe to this podcast and make sure you get to hear about future episodes as I record them. And if you need to check out more about me and what I do, my website is at bruceking.co.uk. So until next time, have a great day every day. It really is your choice.